Good evening, everyone. This is Alea. Welcome to principle number 4 of the Jack Canfield Success Principles. And it has been a very productive day. If you remember yesterday, I actually was on yesterday, and yesterday I said that I was going to bring you another episode today about Success Principle 4, which is the cycle of completion. Well, let me tell you, the cycle of completion is probably going to take the whole 30 days. There is a lot of things that are involved in the cycle of completion. And if you remember, I touched on it lightly yesterday about the little system that I had set up in order to be able to finish a piece of jewelry so that when I went to have inventory for a show, I actually did have inventory. And I'm noticing that Jack Canfield, is putting the same techniques that I used to make sure that I had inventory. He's using those same techniques for everything, which is wonderful. And gee, I had to wait until I got a hold of this book before I could figure it out. Give me a break, okay? Anyway, it's interesting to me that it took me that long to kind of figure it all out. Um, Okay, the cycle of completion. I actually, for those of you who are on the video, I'm going to show you the little diagram. For those of you who are listening to this audio, it's a circle, and the circle has words written around it, starting with the 12 o'clock position. It says decide, and then in 2 o'clock is plan. 4 o'clock start, 6 o'clock continue, 8 o'clock finish, and 10 o'clock complete. So for those of you on video, that's what it looks like. I hope you can see that. Okay. And this has been a cycle that I have followed, not realizing that there was some kind of Jack Canfield magic to it. But now that I know that there's some Jack Canfield magic to it, I will be doing it more often. But in essence, I've noticed this when I'm coaching people for creating businesses, when I'm coaching people for, because lately a couple of people have asked me, how I got to lose 65 pounds and how I got to, be high raw in my eating regime and, that kind of stuff. They've asked me questions about my lifestyle as well as, questions about what it is that I'm doing, work-wise. And so I have been forthcoming in wanting to let them know what it is that I'm doing. And one of the things that I noticed was a lot of people have trouble deciding what it is that they want. And that's part of the process. And so those first 3 chapters that we have in here, the first 3 principles of event, response, outcome, and believing that you can do it, and what are you here for, those first 3 are part of the decision process. So they're a real important foundation to lay. And I've done some of it. I'm actually going to go back and really delve into those before I go forward from chapter 4. So you might not hear from me for a couple of days or maybe more, because I'm really going to buckle down onto that section in order to make sure that I have a firm foundation, because that is the foundation of the success principles, I feel. But the first step is to decide what you want. And part of that is deciding what it is that brings you pleasure, what it is that you get fulfillment from, what it is that makes you want to get out of the bed in the morning, what it is that keeps you going when you're tired, what it is that causes you to decide, I can stay at this for another hour, I can forego a dessert, I can, whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish, when there's something on the side that is a distraction, and yet you can look at the distraction and go, no, I'm not going to do that because I want this. When you can do that, when you get past that, that's the decision. And then once you decide what it is that you want, the second thing is to create a plan in order to make the thing that you want come about. And the plan, I'm noticing, is in constant flux. It's not something that you write it down in stone. It's like a business plan. And I'm sure that most of you have heard this from people who teach success principles about creating a business. You write a business plan in order for it to become somewhat clear in your mind about where you're going and why you're going there. But it's not written in stone. It gets changed and shifted and tweaked and all of that along the way. And I think the same thing works with our life. We decide what it is that we want to do, who we want to be, how we want to be, and where we want to be, and then we create a plan that will get us there, which is kind of like that tapping into your GPS. If you remember, we talked about that, I think, in week 2 or in day 2, finding your inner GPS, that you decide where it is that you're wanting to go, and you write that in, and then the universe does everything that it can in order to help you get there. But at the same time, you get to tweak it, and you get to nudge it and make it so that it fits and so that you fit, because otherwise you start to spin your wheels and you start to lose momentum. Now, the other caveat that he mentions, and that I have noticed with people who, particularly who are starting to try to start a business or to try to start to lose weight or change their food issues, and that is, you plan yourself into oblivion. They're so busy doing the research, so busy getting all the facts, so busy laying the foundation, so to speak, until they never start. And I must say, I've never been guilty of that one. If anything, I start too fast, and then I have to figure out a way to somehow play catch up with the fact that I jumped out of the plane before the door was open or before I had my parachute on. I got it in my hand, but it's not on. So I have to put it on, strap it, and then pull the cord. And on the one hand, that can be a problem because, you're trying to build a road as you're running. And so sometimes that's an issue. I don't think it is as much of an issue as over-planning. Because if you over-plan, you never start. And that's the next step. You have to start in order to go anywhere. The first step, the longest journey starts with the first step. And we've heard this over and over and over again. And one thing that a lot of the business schools and the Small Business Administration and those guys, they teach you so much about the planning until a lot of times people talk themselves out of creating a business, a health regime, a life, or anything because they're so busy planning until they never start. So it is important to start. And then the next thing, and this is the next place that I have a problem. I don't have a problem starting. I have, so I, I have these little, I think I skip every other one because deciding is difficult for me just because I realize that the world is my apple and that I can have anything that I want. And so because I can have anything I want, I feel like a kid in a candy store. I want everything. So narrowing it down and going, okay, I want this. That has been an issue for me. The planning part, that's not an issue. I jump right over that one. I plan a little bit, I have an outline, okay? I have an outline and then I just go and I build the road as I'm going. Or I, put on the parachute as I'm opening the door to the plane and jumping. I have full faith that I'm going to make it and that it's going to be okay. But I do jump as I'm planning. So starting is not an issue for me. Continuing, that becomes an issue because when things get tedious, when I start to run into roadblocks, or what I perceive of as roadblocks, I find myself going, oh, maybe I'm going the wrong way. Oh, maybe I should do it different. Maybe I got it wrong. Maybe this isn't it at all. Maybe I should, So I do that dance as far as continuing. Instead of saying, you know what, I made a decision, I have a plan, and this is where I think the plan makes a difference. Because if you have a plan, and your plan is well thought out, and you run into you've got a little roadblock, there's a bump in the road, there's a detour. Since you have the plan and the plan is very clear, then it's easier to stay on task, even though it's not going the way you thought it was going to go right this minute. So the planning is important because it helps with the continuation. Does that make sense? So that's the other area that I need to take a very close look at. Finishing. Finishing is, if I can make myself continue, if I can make myself go past the rough spots, then finishing is not so much of an issue for me either. Because I like to see the finished product. I like to see I like to see it all blooming. So finishing isn't too hard for me. And he talks about the PhD people, people who are going for their PhD, and I think he calls it an AF degree. I think he calls it an AF degree. It's almost finished. AFD, yes, it's almost finished degree, because they do all the work. They go through 9 years of studying and research and gathering a committee and all the stuff that is necessary in order to get a PhD. And then they don't turn in the final work. They don't do their final presentation, and so they almost finish. And I don't have a problem with finishing, but I do have a problem with completion. And there's a difference between finishing and completing, and I didn't get that until I was reading this section, and then I realized that that finishing had to do with doing all the steps that bring whatever the creation is, all the steps that bring that creation together. That's the finishing part. And so when you get all those steps together, it creates something, whatever it is that you're wanting to create, whether it's writing a book or, losing weight or running a marathon or it doesn't matter what it is. Those are the things that get you to that point. But completion has to do with going the last little bit, that last little distance, and that is being able to get across the finish line. Somebody on the chat said, I know what the planning thing is and the difficulty in deciding. It's really a bear. It's really a bear. um, and I don't know what the perfect answer is, but I do know that when you get through that whole thing of putting in each little bit, that when you get to the end, when you get to the finished part, you absolutely must do that very last step of completion. Because if you don't, and this is where I get in trouble. I get in trouble with completion because I want to be able to have that finished thing, but I don't want it to end. It's such a nice ride, right? You do all this work and you do the planning and you make your way through the difficulties and and it becomes, there's a momentum to the action. And so I don't want the action to end. And because I don't want the action to end, I don't do whatever that final thing is that will tie it all together. Because it's like, oh my goodness, well, if I do that, then there's nothing left. And so what I have to learn is, no, there isn't anything left of that project. It means I have to start a new project. Where it really hurts everyone is that if you don't do that final step of completion, then your energy becomes split. And so the next project that you go to do, you've got energy leaking over on this project that you never quite completed. And if you're like me and you're like so many others that have this problem, you become fragmented because there's so many pieces that are just kind of hanging. So what I did with this today, gosh, this time goes so fast. I'm watching the clock and going, oh my goodness, I'm more than halfway through already. So what I did today, one of the things that Jack Canfield suggests, he has a list of things to do in order to lead you toward completion. And thank God he does not say, oh, do these in 30 days, because he's listing things from your whole lifetime, which is sort of fits in with this thing of, I'm saying, if you have many projects that you haven't completed, many communications that you haven't completed, many ideas, things, whatever, that have not been completed, then you become fragmented, your energy becomes fragmented, and you become less effective at doing the things that you really want to do. And I had reached that point in my life. I had a lot of things that were incomplete. And so this book is helping me so much. So what I did today, okay, one of the things that he asked you about is former business activities, promises not kept, blah, 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 blah. I went down the list. He lists 25 things. And if you guys want this list, shoot me a personal message and I will actually send you the list, because it's really, really, really telling. And it also, I think if you start to work the list, you'll find yourself getting inspired and moved into a direction of creation and manifestation. So one of the things that was on the list was to clean things up. And today was my day off, and I usually spend today in the kitchen. Those of you who have been following my Facebook posts know that I love being in the kitchen. I love making raw food, and it's just fun for me. And so I usually will spend most of the day Sunday in the kitchen playing and figuring out new recipes and stuff. And today, it was especially hard for me not to be in the kitchen because I have a new dehydrator. And so I unpacked it and I quickly cleaned the kitchen, surface cleaned it last night and made a spot for the dehydrator on the counter because I'd taken the other one off. If you know anybody who wants an Excalibur dehydrator, let me know. You're more than welcome to it. I have all the parts. Anyway, I got a new dehydrator, and so I was very reluctant to not be in the kitchen today because I was like, oh, I want to see how the new dehydrator works. But I also really, really, really wanted to get into this cycle of completion and into principle number 4. So I am here to tell you that my closet is empty. Now, you guys know that since last year, I have released 65 pounds, and I'm still releasing. And so most of the clothes in my closet no longer fit. And I've been spending most of my time in exercise clothes and a few, no, I've been spending all my time in exercise clothes. I had a couple of outfits that were, the expandable clothes. They get bigger when you get bigger, they get smaller when you get smaller. I have a couple of outfits like that that still sort of fit because they're stretchy, and so I can just tighten the elastic up and tighten the elastic up. I mean, they're very loose now, but they don't fall off of me. But I pulled everything out of my closet. I pulled it out of my closet. It was probably one of the hardest things that I've done because I had some really nice clothes, but they don't fit anymore. And they're never going to fit anymore. And so why keep them? There's one dress that's still in there. Why I still have this dress, I have no idea. I have had this dress for 12 years. I've never worn it. I bought it. I have carried it with me all over the place, in other countries even, and I've never worn it. I have no idea why I still have this dress. But it's still in the closet. But everything else is out of the closet except for my exercise clothes and 2 party dresses. So that's what I spent my entire Sunday doing, that and really cleaning up my bedroom. And it feels so good. I can't wait to go in there and just go to sleep. So the completion thing, he lists out like 25 things, and the idea is to pick one, do it, and then pick one more and do it, and pick one more and do it, and until you get through the whole list. And if judging from the energy that I feel from cleaning out my closet and just taking all those clothes out of there that I really don't want, and that I'm not going to wear, and some of the things I pulled out, I'm like, why do I still have this? There are things that there is no way I'm ever going to use it. So as you go through your list of these 25 things, you'll notice you'll have so much energy. I'm flabbergasted as to how good I feel from having done that work. So I invite you, get on it. It's so worth it. It is so worth it. The next chapter, the next principle is titled Complete the Past to Embrace the Future, the Total Truth Process. And like I said earlier, I'm going to go back to 1, 2, and 3 and make sure that I have that foundation really, really, really set before I go on to number 5. So if any of you want to really get that foundation set, let me know. I will send you any information that you need. My email address is aleiland@yahoo.com. That's spelled ALEIGHLAND@yahoo.com, and I will send you the foundation stuff. But it's all, I sort of covered most of it on the first 4 episodes that I put up. So if you go back and listen to those episodes, you'll get the gist of what it was that was covered in those and the exercises that we need to do up to this point. This whole program will be on Facebook. I will post it on Facebook. It will be archived in iTunes, So you can just type in my name, Alea Leyland, ALAIA into iTunes, and I believe it's under Look Who's Talking Vision. But if you just type in my name, it will come up. In the podcast, it's free. There's no charge for this. I'm getting as much out of this as I hope that you get out of it, so I am not charging for this. I think this is a blast. So you can get it in iTunes. I am also posting the videos of it on YouTube. It usually takes me a day or so to get the videos up because they're on Ustream as we speak. I do it on Ustream Live, but in order to get them over to YouTube, it means that I have to download them to my computer and then re-upload them to YouTube. But they will be on YouTube. I thank you guys so much for joining me, and please go and if you see these on YouTube, then subscribe to them and give me a thumbs up if you like what you are hearing and seeing. And if you are getting them on iTunes, if you could please leave me a review, I would really appreciate it. It will make my ranks a little higher in iTunes and possibly make me be more recognized, and that'll be wonderful. Thank you so much for joining me. This has been Alea Leyland. I am doing a series on Jack Canfield's Success Principles, and we are on principle number 4, which is the cycle of completion. Success principle number 5 has to do with clearing the past and telling the total truth. It will be a couple of days before I do that one, but I will see you then. Until then, have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful week, and take care. Aloha.
Thank you for using Blog Talk.